Man, it seemed like the first 10 minutes was kind of like a game of horse with all the threes being shot. Can you just speak to how come the game unfolded that way, and then what happened in the second half when you guys started going inside more?
Right. Well, I thought both teams obviously were pretty good offensively.
Yeah.
And both teams, just depends on how you want to look at it, weren't as good on the defensive end. Like they were making some really tough shots. And it just depends on how you look at it in terms of some of the breakdowns that we had. They made some shots when we didn't break down. Then obviously they took advantage of us when we did break down. And the whole thing, I just asked our team at the end, I just said, if the ball's not going in for us, how does this game unfold? You know, you probably lose that game. Obviously we shot the ball well, and we were able to go inside and establish some things there, but I think you got to give Nicholls a lot of credit. You know, I think they have some shot makers. They got some versatility. They had a guy make 3 threes, you know, in this game who hadn't made a 3 all season. So from a scouting report standpoint, you know, that really gave them a boost, you know, when he knocked those shots down for them. But Gordon's a real player, and he is tough to handle. When he gets hot, you know, you got to do a better job than we did. But I also thought offensively we played well enough, you know, to win the game.
Now, when you get rolling like that in the first half with hitting the threes and such, it seems like these guys have really adapted well to just sort of taking whatever the defense is giving you, right?
Yeah, and then, you know, it's fun to play with guys like Ethan Morton and Travion Williams because they're sharing the basketball, they're moving the basketball. And anytime you get you know, you can get some things that can work against you that are contagious, all right? But you can also get some things that can work for you that are contagious. And when guys pass the basketball, it makes it fun. And when those guys are out there moving and cutting, they know Travion will find them, they know Ethan will find them. And so I think that balance for us of having good low post play, scoring in transition, but once we get into the half court, just moving the ball, passing the ball, and having a lot of fun.
Matt, Zach talked about this point a year ago. He didn't really understand basketball the way he does now. Clearly, he's a big guy and strong and
Yes.
physical, but how have you seen him grow in that approach where he, you know, he took it seriously and decided, I'm gonna get really good at this?
Right. Yeah, he's put in, you know, a lot of time, and he's got. Anytime you find somebody that ends up being great, they normally have a pretty good routine. You know, you find a great hitter in baseball, like he's got a routine of how he does stuff. And Zach has his routine, what he does before, what he does, you know, after practice, and puts in that time. And he's also a sponge. You know, when guys play basketball their whole life, they have a lot of different people that are giving them advice through the years. Well, Zach hasn't done that. You know, this is his 5th year of playing organized basketball. So whenever you say something to him, there's not a wall there to where, like, you hope that you can get through that wall so they're listening to what you say. He just listens to what you say. So when he, like, from a passing standpoint, that's where, like, tonight he has 4 assists, 0 turnovers. You know, that's fabulous for where he was last year, you know, starting the season. He's done a really good job of letting things slow down. But he's worked really hard, just like the rest of our guys. He's worked really hard to be in this position. But he's fun to coach.
Coach, you've talked about 10 starters that you have on the team, but I see the team get real excited when the 4 guys come in, you know, Jared and all those guys come in.
Right.
What do they mean to this team? Because, I mean, the guys get excited seeing them play at the end.
Right. Yeah, you wish you could, you know, they could play a little bit more. By the time they get out there and they get loose a little bit, the game's over. But they do a lot of stuff for our program and in practices and in prep, and they know what's going on. And I think that helps us more than anything. Is just those guys helping us in practice and helping us in the program. And our guys, you know, want to see them, you know, have success. It's a really hard thing to do. Just think about grabbing people out of the stands after they've sat for 2 hours and go play basketball. It's impossible. That's why you see those guys they normally struggle, right? They normally struggle at the time of every basketball game you've ever watched, when those guys that don't get in because they've been sitting there for 2 hours. But no, just happy for those guys when they can get an opportunity to get out there and play.
Coach, I understand that the staff and the players, you guys are at 100% vaccination rate.
Mm-hmm.
But with kind of the current landscape of college sports, with teams having to miss games and
Right.
postpone games, just how important is that in terms of, it's just that from a competition standpoint, that you guys have a chance to be healthy and not miss games?
Right. Yeah, it's very fortunate because it's not always you, it's your opponent also. So our guys have been vaccinated, they've gotten, you know, the booster. And, you just got to do, in my opinion, everything in your power to help yourself and to help the program and help other people. And our guys have done that, and so, you know, kudos to them. And we've been through this, right? And so like now you can kind of smell, you know, there's obviously some change and some things going on now. And, you know, you just hope for the best. You know, you want these guys to have the full experience. You want your fans, you know, we're a self-sufficient school. And so we raise a lot of our own money and stuff like that. And the people that help with that pay all the scholarships for all of our athletes, you know, you want them to experience the full experience too. And so that's really what we're searching for, is just hopefully we can have that full experience for our players, our fans, you know, everybody, because not all of our fans get to come to our games. They watch a lot on television. So if that can happen across the country, you know, that would be great.
How long do you have to hold Caleb out?
You know, he's in the protocol now. We'll see, you know, here tomorrow.
Sorry.
You know, we'll see tomorrow how there's nothing definite at this point, but he's trending in the right direction.
Coach, you had 30 assists on 35 made baskets.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, it's great. You know, just sharing the ball. Like I said, it makes it a lot of fun when you get guys out there that pass the ball and share the basketball and want to set up one of their teammates. But to have 11 assists or 12 assists from your centers with no turnovers, I think that's something that's pretty rare. Then you have another guy who has 7 assists and 0 turnovers. But, you know, 30 to 8 is a pretty good ratio. I think you'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah, that was going to be my second question about Travion with 8 assists, no turnovers.
Yeah, he's magical with the basketball. You know, if you cut and you move and put yourself in a position and just kind of read what the defense is doing, you know, he'll find you. You know, sometimes he sees a little bit too much. Most guys that can really pass like that, sometimes they try to thread the needle a little bit too much, but you can live with it. You know, when guys are putting up those kind of numbers and generating offense that way, like he's a real weapon when he has the ball in the low post or out on the perimeter.
Matt, you've gone through November and December now. It's all prep for Big Ten season. Based on where you're at today, have you sort of accomplished everything you wanted to through this stretch to be ready to go come Monday for Big Ten?
Yeah, we were never ready. Obviously, we just gave up 90 points. And so I think, you know, when you look at that standpoint, but I think you can also grab a silver lining with that. Sometimes you dominate a team and you win by 50 points and you shut them out, and then you think you've arrived. And it's kind of fool's gold, right? You know, now it shows, you know, that we need some work on the defensive end, and we need to give more attention to detail and stick to our rules. So, but we've had a great non-conference. Obviously, we're undefeated, and we've done, you know, a really good job there. But you're still trying to, you know, make that quest and have the improvement to be a better team, you know, every day of the week. And we'll take tomorrow off, and then we'll have, you know, 3 practices before Wisconsin.
So in that same vein, you've been such good at three-point defense through the season.
Yeah.
And then today, was it a little bit of both, them hitting some tough shots and also just some breakdowns on the...
Yeah, the one guy, you know, hasn't made a 3 in 10 games, and he hits 3 of them, so you can scratch those 3. Like, we were letting him have it, you know. But the other guy, we knew Gordon was a shot maker. You know, he shoots 40% from 3. He shoots 9 a game. He makes a little bit under 4 a game. So we knew, like, enough clips that we showed. He makes, when he gets hot, he makes tough threes. And so I think we just got to do a better job of staying into the basketball, bigs being up on their line, and take away space. You know, he's kind of a special guy once he gets hot and he gets in that position. Because he has games where he's 1 for 15. You know, he has other games where, you know, he's kind of there and he kind of comes in and out of the game where he's like, has a good 4-minute stretch. And then, but we just kept telling our guys, like, you know, he can really get it going. And I think it's more of just the attention to detail, just doing little things in ball screen D. And when you let people get their head up, they feel good about it. Like, you know, they're scholarship players. Like, they're good players. Like, they jumped in the portal and brought a lot of guys to their team, you know, whether that's JUCO, another 4-year school. And he's done a really good job. He's going to be in this business for a while.
Dylan and then Brian.
What do you make it? Oh,
Brian.
sorry.
Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
What do you make of them getting 24 second chance points?
24 what?
Second chance points, 14 offensive rebounds.
We don't box out. Yeah, I thought they played harder when the ball went up. I thought they got 50-50 balls better than us. I thought when we had to box out and fight for them, I thought, you know, we won a couple of them, but for the most part, they won those. You know, I thought they were just quicker to the basketball. They did a better job than us.
I just wanted to ask about Brandon. Obviously struggled a little bit before the break, had 2 threes tonight, kind of looked a little more confident than he had. What did you see from him, and did you see any change during the break?
Yeah, well, it's, you know, when you're subbing in and you're going back and forth, like a lot of times you don't get 22 minutes like you got tonight. So tonight was that's a lot of minutes, coming off the bench right there. And, we need to get him into, modes that get him clean looks at the basket. He's a really good shooter. The fact that he doesn't turn it over is great. But then coming in, see if you're struggling in areas while you're playing, when you come in off the bench, if you can help us in those areas, it's going to help your cause. Like sometimes guys don't get that figured out. Sometimes they can't see past their own nose. Like Brandon can shoot the basketball, but sometimes you're struggling rebound. Well, come in and rebound. I thought he had a couple good rebounds tonight for us. Come in and defend and shut that guy down or shut one of their guys down. Or, get the 50-50 ball. Some of the things that we've discussed here, it's so important. If you can learn to come in and play to your strengths and really help in some of those areas, it will help you. And that's what he's got to do, but that's also what everybody's got to do.
Matt, you talked about the 10 guys you have, and you get to the point now where you shorten your bench maybe. I don't think you're in a position where, you really can do that because you've got so many guys and they're all double-figure scores. Just how great is that kind of depth that you always strive for, but it's almost impossible to find, and it seems like you found it.
Right. Well, it's good. You have people that are talented players. I'm trying to get their production higher than their talent. I think that's always the quest as a coach. Guys that can jump, shouldn't they be able to get rebounds? Guys that are quick, shouldn't they be able to contain the dribble? Being functional with the talents that you have. And so there's going to be games, and I've discussed this with guys, there's going to be games, even guys who start the game, they're not going to play as much. If we get into games that matter, where you don't feel like the game's getting away from you, and something works, you end up staying with it as a coach. That's why you see coaches as years progress, their rotation doesn't get longer or maintained, it gets shorter because they lose trust in certain players. And that's the one thing that you got to be able to do. Even though you like them as a player, even though you recruited them, they're on your team or whatever, you got to play the game the right way so your coach can trust you. If your coach doesn't trust you, as the season progresses, you're going to play less and less. That's the word that doesn't get used enough, and players don't understand that when they get recruited. High school guys will play sometimes, and they're so much better than everybody else because they're so much more talented than everybody else. They get to play there. Now when you get to college, you got to be able to, trust those guys, to be able to go out and run your stuff, stick to your defensive rules. And sometimes you'll have a guy in there that's just more talented than anybody else on the college level, kind of like a high school deal. Now when you go to the pros, all those guys are special. So now who can do their job, who knows how to play the right way, who can play a role. Role definition is so important. So we got some guys that have really done a good job with their role, but it's still hard, especially when you're younger. It's still really, really hard. So you're constantly trying to communicate with them and talk with them to try to help them along. But there's going to be hard lessons when they don't get to play as much or at all in certain games.
You want one more time?
I was hoping you guys had one more.
This is just sort of off the wall, but
The last one always is, right?
Just was thinking ahead. The fact you have Wisconsin on Monday, when it comes to prep for them, does it help or matter at all that they just play Nicholls too? I mean, when you're looking at things, is there anything you gain from that at all?
No, not at all. Not at all. Just because they have such familiarity with us, and we have the same familiarity with them. And so it's really going to be watching them play Nicholls without, Johnny Davis is Johnny Davis is going to play such a key part of their team. I'm going to watch film of Johnny Davis in the game because he's going to play against us. So like that. So they had that game and they almost lost it without him, and then they lost to Providence without him. And so all the other games, they've been, obviously very, very successful. So I think that's kind of the difference for them. When he's in there and he's going, man, there's tough to beat. Not to say they're not a good team without him, because they are, but they could end up being a special team with him.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.